Hello, everyone, and welcome to the special edition of the Hard Hitting Wrestling Show. This Sunday is Father's Day, and Father's Day is a holiday honoring our fatherhood and parental bonds between father and son. Yeah, most family members probably are dealing with single parents. So, single parents are doing dual roles, father and mother. But this Sunday, we're honoring those. They're in those father figure roles, those that are role models, and to everyone that does a lot for a child. And in this episode, this special episode, I want to reintroduce you from June 14th, 2020, a broadcast that we had done here by Hector Vasquez, who wanted to do a tribute to his dad. And he shared his memory about his dad in relations to wrestling, fatherhood, and an advice to share with all of us.
Okay. Protective, strong, funny, loving, supportive, provider. These are just some of the characteristics that my dad had. There's plenty more. I can be here all day with that. But I just want to give you just an overview of who this man was, especially in my life. Okay? He was my doctor. When I was hurt, whether it be physically or emotionally, he was there for me. Okay? He was my trainer. Okay? When growing up being a scrawny little kid, he made sure that, hey, I'm going to bulk this boy up, get me the weights and train me and everything like that. He was my Santa Claus. You grow up, saying that Santa Claus is going to get you this, but, as you get older, you know the truth, and he was definitely that. He was my teacher, He taught me a lot about life, and one thing that always stuck with me in my life was that he taught me that never let a day go by without you learning something. Then because if you don't, then you just wasted a day. Okay. And he especially taught me how to play chess. I mean, bless that man's heart. I mean, he know how to play the game of chess. And I think in my whole lifetime, I beat him one time, but I hold on to that victory. But this man was a very, very great teacher. And at times he was my friend, when I needed that, he was there for me, he was also my disciplinarian, I mean, when I did something wrong, hey, I had to pay the consequences, but he did it out of love. I could see sometimes it hurt him to do what he had to do, but it had to be done. And I thank him for that. I'm very appreciative that he gave me that discipline that I needed, because I wouldn't be the man that I am today if it wasn't for him doing that. But most of all, he was my father. Here's a man who grew up without a father in his life. His father left him when he was a young boy. So I could just imagine the things that, he went through in his life, the troubles that he got himself into because he didn't have that father figure. I was fortunate enough to have him in my life. And even though I know he wasn't a perfect dad, but he was there for me every single day of my life, through my good times and through my bad times. And I am very appreciative of that, and being a young boy growing up, we loved wrestling. Wrestling was a thing together. We did a lot of great things together and watched a lot of shows together, a lot of father-son times. But yeah, he loved wrestling, and to hear some of the stories about his favorite wrestlers, I mean, I give you some examples of his favorite wrestlers, like the Polish Power Ivan Putski, the Magnificent Morocco, and he changed his name later to The Rock, Don Morocco. Of course, the Macho Man Randy Savage. One of his favorite tag teams was the Legion of Doom, the Road Warriors, Hawk and Animal. He loved those two, and he always tried to emulate them, with their voices and everything like that. He loved Dusty Rhodes. That was one of his other favorites. Bruno Sammartino. I mean, I know I'm going a little way back, but that was his generation. That was his time, and he told me stories about people like this, Jesse the Body Ventura, so those wrestlers I got to hear stories about. And some of them I got to watch, and got to see them wrestle in the ring and see their performances. And I got a better understanding of them because of my dad telling me stories, of when he used to watch them and like that. But, watching it on TV and actually going to a live event is two totally different things. So I want to share a little story with you, you know, that was very near and dear to my heart. Okay. So there was always a sense of anticipation and innocence about growing up in the 80s. Okay. And Saturday mornings. Not only did I enjoy a nonstop list of cartoons, but it was also capped off with WWF superstars of wrestling. Okay. Growing up, my mom would tell me stories about times when she was a young girl watching wrestling with her dad. Well, I was fortunate to be in the same situation with my dad. Wrestling really didn't grow as a passion for me until January 23rd, 1984, when Hulk Hogan faced the Iron Sheik for the WWF Championship title at Madison Square Garden. Now, growing up in New York City, Madison Square Garden was the Mecca arena for the WWF. The first WrestleMania was held there, and later on, the 10th and 20th edition. So, in honor of the Father's Day, I would like to share with you, the audience, one particular memory I've ever had with my dad. We've shared now many memorable moments. However, this one stood out above the rest. On Monday night, January 27th, 1986, Madison Square Garden was hosting a WWF live event. Now, back then, we didn't have cable, so we had to watch wrestling on Saturday mornings and the original Saturday main event on local channels. So how did I know the WWF was coming to Madison Square Garden? Well, the newspaper. Yeah, that's right. When you wanted to know or find out anything, you had to buy the newspaper and look at the events happening. However, I didn't think much of it until my dad, he pulled a fast one on me. He surprised me with tickets to the live event. So here's a man who would do anything for me. Okay. Looking back, he went out of his way to make this night happen. Getting those tickets was not an easy task. Having to travel to Manhattan to buy the tickets, not knowing what was available, and making sure you had the cash on hand made it very daunting. However, as a young boy, to see a father's love be put into action, I mean, that was very priceless, especially on a school night. No matter what my dad went through in life, putting a smile on my face and spending time with me was his mission, and he surely succeeded. So that night we talked and laughed and had a great conversation about what we were about to experience together. And as we entered the garden, my dad purchased a wrestling program, and in it was a lineup for the night. We already knew about the main event prior to the whole thing, but to see what was going on and who was going to be there that night made it more exciting. So names like Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, Big John Studd, Junkyard Dog, Pedro Morales, Terry Funk, which is some of the names. And Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse the Body Ventura was on commentary that night. So let's get to the main event, okay? Hulk Hogan was defending his WWF title against the Macho Man Randy Savage. This match was intense, but even before the bell rang, my dad told me prior to the match that the Macho Man was going to win. I completely disagreed. I told him, how can Hogan lose? He was like a superhero to us kids. He was our champion. He was the face of the WWF. He trained. He said his prayers. He ate his vitamins. Hogan cannot be beaten. Well, I think Hogan didn't get the memo that night. Hulk Hogan entered the ring, and before the bell rang and the match started, Savage was all over Hulk Hogan. I mean, just pounding away. I mean, Macho Man still had his robe on and started choking the Hulkster with his own bandana and his own shirt. Okay. I mean, and even beat Hulk Hogan with the belt. Okay. But Hulk Hogan turns the table, mocking the Macho Man wearing his shades, and commenced to beat down on Savage. This match was so physical. Savage got busted open and blood was everywhere. Back and forth, these two superstars went, and back and forth, my dad and I went. Fans were cheering and fans were booing, but it was exciting. And the end result, the Macho Man Randy Savage won by a countout because Miss Elizabeth kept blocking Hogan from ramming Savage into the post resulting in Hogan hitting the steel post shoulder first. However, the title didn't change hands, and even after the match was over, these two superstars kept on going back and forth. Hogan putting Macho Man in the bear hug, and other superstars like Tiger Chung Lee, Iron Mike Sharp, and Danny Spivey, they had to separate these two superstars. So my dad and I both went home winners. For my dad, the Macho Man won the match. And for me, Hulk Hogan kept his belt. For the both of us, the most important win was that we both spent the evening together and had a good time. And even though it was super late and it was a long train ride home, that the tiredness did not allow us to ruin the evening. So I would like to just say, Dad, I know you're looking down from heaven, sending out smiles with days of sunshine and showers of love. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for the everlasting memories that you've given me, your son, while you was here with me. And I thank you so much for that. I want to be able to share with you guys something that is near and dear to my heart. Okay, by no means am I a doctor or a psychologist or anything like that, but I want to share with you something that is personal to me. And the first thing is that I want you to understand that you have to realize that no matter how high you reach in life, you will always be their baby. Okay, and so what I mean by that, okay, is that you're never too old to get advice from them. Okay, they really they really may show you things that you have never considered. Okay, so you have to take that in consideration. As you get older, you can always still learn something, you know. And since your dad is much older, he still has some wisdom there somewhere. Okay, so take that in consideration. Don't push him away thinking that you know it all. Okay, because he doesn't know it all, but he wants to pass knowledge down to you. Okay, another thing I've learned for myself was learn to forgive. Okay, again, I said, my dad wasn't a perfect person. Okay, he had his flaws. However, I look over that. I I take the good and I outweigh the bad. Okay, and I learn to forgive. Because if you have or you hold on to a grudge against your dad or even your parents, whatever the case may be, you have to find a way to let that go. Because there's no upside to holding a grudge against your dad. Okay, so no matter what they've done in their life, no matter what they've done to you, if you just keep that grudge, you're going to regret it one day. Okay, because remember, you're not perfect yourself. Okay, and you will want people to forgive you if you made mistakes. Okay, and it doesn't matter how many mistakes it is, you continue to forgive. Okay, another thing I want to share with you that I've learned is to protect their confidence. Okay, your dad gets older, but he still wants to have fun. He wants to act like a child. He has that. He wants to be young at heart. Let him. Never tell them or tell him, you're too old for this. That's kind of a confidence breaker. You know what I'm saying? Enjoy the moments. You never know when this is going to end. Okay. So if he wants to have fun, let him have fun. I know my dad has done that so many times. And that's what makes him so fun. He made him so funny with our family. Just the things that he would do, the antics, that he has, or the jokes that he would have. It was just very comical, but it was everlasting moments that I would never forget. And we've always had this thing, in our family as far as who was the funniest person in our family. And I may have won that, but I know my dad was a very, very, very close second. You know, this man will have you laughing. It was not even funny. Yes, it was though. And the last thing I want to share real quick is listen to them closely. Okay, and what I mean by that is that as they get older, they may need you. Okay, so don't push that away. Okay, because when you push that away, then you're messing with their ego. Okay, and then they're gonna feel like they can't come to you. Okay, as you as a child growing up, you came to your dad and you wanted him. Well, now the roles get reversed. Okay, and now he's gonna be needing you. So be there for him as he was there for you. And so those are my four things that I've learned from my personal experience. Take it for what it's worth, in your life. I mean, like, you may not have a good relationship with your dad. I don't know. But like I said, going back to what I said, learn to forgive, okay? And spend every moment that you have because tomorrow's not promised to any one of us.
Well said. I mean, well said, Hector. Um, just by you, ah, hmm, this is a good one, man.
Thank you. It was hard. I mean, I was very nervous, because it's been 3 years, and losing my dad to cancer, it wasn't fun. I was there.
Mhm.
Okay. I want to thank my wife because I already had made plans to go see him when he was sick. And I told her, you know what, I'm going to buy a plane ticket to go to New York during Father's Day. But in her wisdom, she said, you may want to rethink that and maybe go earlier because you just don't know. And so when I took that into consideration, I said, yeah, you know what, you may be right. And she was right on point because when I went to go see my dad, I took a week's vacation to go see him, spend time with him, just to be there for him. And when I got there, I told him, Dad, I'm here for you. Whatever you want, whatever you need, I'm here for you, just like you was there for me. And I know I cannot repay you for everything you've done for me, but with my time, being here with you, I'm hoping that it could be the least thing I can do. And it was hard to say because it was less than a day before I was going to leave that I told him, Dad, I got to get on the plane and go home. My flight is going to be leaving in several hours. Um, he could not respond, but I know he heard me, and I knew he was at peace, and so he left, and I was there, But it was joy. I know he wasn't suffering no more, and I didn't have to go home with any regret. You know, I tell people, and I don't mind sharing my story. That week being the last week being with him of his life was the toughest thing I've ever done in my life. And I've served in the military for 10 years. I've done 4 tours. I've seen a lot. I've done a lot. Okay. But taking care of my dad was the toughest thing I've ever had to do. And I could just imagine what he had to go through taking care of me as a child growing up, teaching me and, guiding me in the right direction. But I would never trade it for the world, that experience I've had, and even with his dying days, this man was still a clown. I mean, he was still funny and he was still having me laughing. I mean, it was never a dull moment with that man. And I love him for that, and 3 years later, it still hurts, it's still fresh, but I keep on to holding on to all the memories, and that's what you have to have, but if you still have your dad with you,
Mm.
cherish every single moment, okay? Because you don't want to regret nothing later in life.
Thank you for watching the Hard Hitting Wrestling Show. Tune in this Tuesday as we talk to Jenny Santana, the general manager of UWW. And furthermore, we're getting ready for Money in the Bank pay-per-view and SummerSlam. So stay tuned and thank you for watching the Hard Hitting Wrestling Show.